Good evening, Cheese Room. Should Kane stay or should Kane go? If he goes, there will be trouble, but if he stays, there will be double. So come on, guys, let me know. Does Kane stay or does he go? That is the topic for tonight's conversation, amongst other things such as the demolishing of Shakhtar Donetsk yesterday in the 5-1 game, with Kane scoring 4 magnificent goals, topped off with a peachy finish by Scarlett to make it 5. Transfer talks. Van de Ven was in the building yesterday. Saw him there signing autographs, taking pictures. Lots is going on at Spurs as we go into the final week before the start of the season. And joining me tonight to talk all of these things, my regular Monday, Wednesday night co-host, brother from another mother, Gibbo. Gibbo, how's things been for you? Good week? Good weekend?
Not really, mate. My son got a really bad injury in his football, but we ain't got time to go into that. So I watched what I could of the game while sat in A&E yesterday with him. And what I saw, I was impressed with, albeit being only friendly. And I'm sure as well tonight you'll be calling me out on some of my opinions on Kane from last week, mate.
I will.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, good to be here, mate. Looking forward to the chat and looking forward to having a chat with James and Isaiah as well. So let's get into it, mate.
Go next to Isaiah. Isaiah, it's been a while since I've been on with you. How have you been? Back in the States, I believe.
Yeah. I'm just got back a week ago, and doing well. Oh, there's someone at the door. Maybe come back to me.
James, welcome. How are you? Good weekend?
Yeah, it was all right. Pretty ordinary. I can't remember what I did actually. Oh, I played very loud music all weekend. That's what I did. But that's pretty much ideal.
Standard. That works, doesn't it? Works for everyone.
What were you playing, James? What were you listening to?
Oh, I was playing an eclectic mix of stuff. See, as I get drunk, what I want to listen to changes a little bit. I mean, at one point I had Aretha Franklin on, right?
Yeah.
But I polished off bottle and a bit of vodka, so that was all right. Good night.
Good. So, Isaiah, back to you. Yeah, back in the States. Enjoying being home?
Yeah, I am. It is definitely a lot hotter and more humid, which isn't great. But other than that, at least we have air conditioning in the houses here. So that was not the case at my accommodation in Southampton. But doing well.
Good. Well, it's great to have you here. Lots to get into. Let's start with the obvious starting point. King Kane. A week ago, Gibbo, it was all doom and gloom. He was dead to you. He could take a running jump off the pier. Don't want to see him again. He's gone. He's sold. It's a done deal. A week later, Spurs have rejected Bayern's apparent final offer for Kane. Kane plays the best part of 80 minutes in a pre-season friendly a week before the season starts. And all signs point to him staying. And in the group chat, Gibbo, I've got to say, you was all for him staying, which is a complete yo-yo term from you.
Well, no, mate, because obviously I always wanted him to stay. You want to keep him. My point was, I said, once he's gone, he will be like he's dead to me because I don't really care about players once they've left Spurs. My what seems is a little U-turn is that for me, the team's got to come first. We've got to put the team first in the direction we're going. We don't want to destabilise anything. So if he's there for the first game of the season, Levy's got to really hold his nerve, which it seems like he's doing at the minute, and you've got to keep him. I was ready to sort of say, look, let him go if he wants to go, if the money's there, if it's right, he can go because we're rebuilding. But that was a week ago where we could have gone, we could have got someone else in, we could have had another, a week before the season starts to prepare. But it's got closer and closer. We've rejected that bid, and I think the board, if the board have decided they're going to keep him, then that's it. You got to stick to your guns. You're going to, if they can think they can afford to sort of miss out on that money, which I'm happy for them to do. It's not my money, but that is a massive chunk of money, which I never believed that Levy would miss out on that type of money. I always thought, if the price was right, he'd sell. Still a few days left, so I'm not going to start like jumping up and down on it. But yeah, mate, at the end of the day, Kane is a great player, probably the best I've ever seen. But I just don't subscribe to this type of thing, or this, oh, he loves us. And, you know, he's a great player for our club now, and he will go down in history. But, you know, if he leaves, mate, like I told you, that'll be it. You know, he's gone. He's not a Spurs player anymore. I'm more interested in the team, the main thing, mate. Like I keep saying, the team and the crest on the badge is more important than any player. But if he stays for you, mate, we'll no doubt be better with him than we are without him.
Yeah,
but still time, isn't there? You know,
yeah, there is still time. Yeah. James, I said last week on the show that with Caller and Gibbo both disagreed with me. I said if he starts on Sunday, he's got to be staying, and there can't be an agreed bid in place. You don't start and risk £100 million transfer by starting him in a preseason friendly if the intent is to sell. In my view, Gibbo and Caller vehemently disagreed with me and said, "Nah, mate, he'll start anyway. He'll start regardless. It's fine." Caller, just to also call Caller out, he was also yesterday, I don't know if it was the lager he had, because he did drink quite a few yesterday, was suddenly like, yeah, now he's started, he's definitely not going, 100% staying, blah, blah, blah. What did you make to it, James? As soon as you saw him in that starting lineup yesterday, was it he's good as staying?
I didn't read into it that much, to be honest. In terms of him staying, I was more looking at the apparent allegations of Daniel Levy turning his phone off. Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, I don't know if Harry Kane can play under Ange. Don't know if he suits the system, lads. What do you think? I'm not convinced. I didn't read too much into it, in all honesty, him starting. It's pre-season, it's friendlies. I mean, provided I don't see Davinson Sanchez start, happy days. Ange is trying to work out the best team. But I didn't read too much into it. But after that, you know, rumours have been coming out saying he's very impressed by Ange. He's enjoying training sessions and all. He doesn't want to sign a new contract right now. It looks like he's kind of happy to stay for another year. So maybe. Who knows? Well, Daniel Lee, presumably.
Isaiah, what's your take on it? You know, reportedly turned down an £82 million bid plus add-ons, I believe, today. Bayern said publicly this was the final offer. They've since backtracked on that supposedly and said, "Oh, we're still negotiating, still time." Where are you at, Isaiah? Where's your head at now with does Kane stay or does Kane go? What's your camp? What camp are you in?
Well, my opinion on this has never really wavered. It's really been the same. Like I've not thought there was a reasonable amount of money that any club would spend on a player with 1 year left on his contract that's worth more than a season of Harry Kane, in my opinion. And I also have always I've always thought, yeah, I mean, there is an amount of money that Levy will take, but until that exact amount of money is met in the structure of the deal, the way that he wants it, he's not going to accept it. And I don't think £82 million is that amount of money. So unless Bayern want to bring that figure up to £100 million plus add-ons, I don't expect to see Kane going anywhere. And I don't know that. I feel like if Spurs had left him out of the team against Shakhtar, it would have been kind of a signal they didn't want to send to Bayern that they were ready to sell him. So I think he was going to start regardless. I'm not sure if that affects how likely he is to leave. I think the only thing that affects how likely he is to leave is whether or not Bayern give the money or offer the money that Levy wants them to offer.
Yeah, my observation was Isaiah, that it wasn't that it's if a deal is looking very likely to happen, i.e. we was there or thereabouts, which is what at that time the rumours were, there's no way he starts, because if it's going to be done, you don't start him. That was my point.
Yeah.
Gibbo, I mean, taking all the emotion away from it, is Levy mad turning down potentially 100 million and keeping him for the season?
Mate, part of my, like, in our group we've been speaking about it, and it's like, it's not our money, is it? So, you know, to us, it doesn't really matter if he leaves on in a way, it doesn't really matter if he leaves on a free. But I just can't see how well, in an ideal world, mate, Levy would turn around and go, "Yep, we're prepared to lose him on a free, and we'll replace him. We'll do whatever we need to do. We're keeping him for a year. That's the end of it. If he wants, if we can get him to sign a contract, great. I don't think that'll happen. But otherwise, he leaves on a free. He stays this season, and because he makes us a better team. I just cannot see Levy, and hopefully I'm wrong, saying we'll just lose the money. We'll lose the money. It is still a massive chunk of money, isn't it? You probably what are we talking, 80 odd million for a player with 1 year left on his contract, even though that player is Harry Kane. To just let him walk away on a free. I just can't see Levy, and how he appears to us that he'd do that. I mean, Craig, you think he'll stay? You think he's going to stay? So, but can you really see if you take the emotion out of it? Can you see Levy sort of just blowing off 80 odd million? If he's going to go, it's going to be more than that. But could you see Levy just saying, no, he stays. I don't care if he goes on a free.
I think, and I don't know. I'm not, I'm not Levy. I'm not in his head. My gut feel is from the Levy interview when he did that interview with the university, whatever it was, months ago now, and what he said about Kane then about building a statue. He could finish his career at Spurs. He can win trophies at Tottenham. I generally believes he's balancing it and thinking we can get top 5, which is all we need to get this season. We've got more chance of getting top 5 this season with Harry Kane in our front line than we are without him. And even if we sell him for 80 million, there's not one player that we can get that replaces Harry Kane. There's not one. No. It's just impossible. Not for 80 million, 100 million, or 120 million. Certainly not with a few weeks left of the transfer window, a week before the season starts. So my gut feel is I think he's thinking, right, keep him, have him in the squad. Worst case, use this first half of the season. Hopefully he likes what he sees, the way that we're playing. He then gets to the point of January, and maybe we can convince him to sign a new contract. And if it doesn't look like he's going to sign a new contract and he's going to hold out, there's always January. And there will be clubs that will still want to buy him in January for 80 million, 70 million, 60 million. We'll take it then. But I'm not saying
it's right. Our season then, won't it?
Well, but then this is the other point. Yeah, but if that's assuming though, mate, that we don't know we'll know where our season's going to be in January. We could be flying high in January, 3rd in the league, 2nd in the league. Most goals scored. Most goals conceded, probably. Be high up in that league table, and think, right, we're not going to sell him because it is exactly a deal our season. We're on for a good thing here. If we can come out that next season, if we can win a cup, or we can get top 5, which is what we need for Champions League, there is a chance that Kane stays. Do you not think?
I don't think he's signing a new contract, mate. But that's just James, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. James, what do you think, mate?
Well, side note, how much is Harry Kane worth economically for one season? Now, getting Champions League gets you about 50 million. Based on previous performances, we'd probably get about 55, 60 million in prize money. That's to add on the commercial revenue and the merchandise revenue from the stadium. I believe that figure would end up being around 65, nearly 70 million. Now, if we keep Kane, I firmly believe we will get Champions League this season. Finish in Champions League spots, be there next season. If we sell, I'm less certain. I think Harry Kane and the signings we've made, and one more centre-back, virtually assure us top 5. Whereas him going, that's a much more open-ended question. Ultimately, if Bayern only willing to pay 80 million, I'd say we're losing out on 10, 15 million. Because the plus, being in the Champions League gives us more pull with players next transfer window, and if he does go, fair dues, mate. Maybe he doesn't. I don't think he'll stay. I think he'll go. But one season of Harry Kane probably only costs us 15 million, maybe 20 million. The money in lost revenue from not getting Champions League is just as real as not selling Kane. And ultimately, I think Levy kind of has a right to be annoyed with Bayern because he's obviously set his price and Bayern have walked in and lowballed. It'd be like me walking into Tesco and go, oh, I don't know, mate, 80p for a loaf of bread. I'll do 35p. It's like, no. There is a fee. You either pay the fee, we can negotiate the add-ons, but no. We're not talking about 70 million. I'd have turned my phone off. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Well, he went to Miami, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. He should have gone to Australia, mate, even further away from Germany.
Yeah, I mean that was proper cool. I loved that. That's a proper bit of shithousery. Leaving, loved it. I'm going to Miami for a few days. Screw your offer. Isaiah, which way do you see it going, mate?
Yeah, I agree with the point about the commercial revenue and all of that of getting Champions League football, and I also agree that the likelihood that we get Champions League football without Kane is so limited. Even if we have the squad to do it, it's just the mentality shift that will occur if you lose your star player a week before the season starts. And I think we're all already going to get off to a bit of a shaky start just because it's going to take a while to get Van de Ven and hopefully another quality defender integrated into the squad and actually starting every match. So we could be looking at still having the likes of Dyer and Davies involved in the center back positions come the start of the season. And if we don't, it's a fairly raw player in Van de Ven. We're going to need, I think, a really strong second half of the season, and that's going to require, in my opinion, Harry Kane. And no, I don't think he'll sign a new contract unless the only way that I see that changing is if we finish second or third and win a cup. I mean, it would have to be a season that makes it look like next season we should be challenging for the Premier League, challenging, for the latter stages of the Champions League. It should look like the only way I can see him staying is if he's got a trophy under his belt this coming season, and it looks like he could progress beyond whatever FA Cup, League Cup that might be in the coming seasons, because he knows how old he is and he knows how much time he has left to try to compete for league titles and European titles, and he's going to need some really strong evidence coupled with his family life that he can win those trophies. Some strong evidence of that coupled with his family life to convince him to sign even a couple of more years. So I really don't see it happening. Win those trophies. Some strong.
Interesting. Sorry, Gibbo, you're going to come in.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to be fair, like what the point James made was excellent. I don't get involved in any of that shit, Craig, looking at finances and all that, mate. I'm not really interested in any of that stuff. So I don't look into that. That's a really good point. But what I would like is, which probably won't happen, the club and maybe Kane. If that's the case and they're going to keep it, just come out and say he stays for the year. That's it. He won't go in January. Whatever he does, he will stay this year. And that, just some sort of statement that whether he goes on a free or whether he agrees a new contract this year, he is now staying at Tottenham. He's fully committed, and we just get on with it. So because it's all the faff around it. It's just that's all it's ever about and it's just annoying. And I just want it, I just want to concentrate on the team, and I'm sure that's what Ange wants to do. So James's point is great, and if that's how Levy is thinking, great, and we just go. Drawn a line under it. We don't want to keep being asked about it in the press conference. He's a Tottenham player this season, and we'll deal with whatever happens at the end of the season. And I think that deadline has got to be before the Brentford game. So I think the manager knows the player, that he knows the squad he's got already, because he pretty much knows the players he's going to be using from within his own squad. I know there's a couple to bring in, but that's always the same with the transfer window. And then this is what we're doing. Kane staying. I don't want to talk about it. Press officer, no questions about Kane leaving because we're not interested. We've put out our statement and we can just go and work on what we're going to do. I mean, I think it'll be really tough to finish in the Champions League, even with Kane. I think the league is stronger than it's been for a long time. It's going to be really difficult. But, like I said earlier, mate, if it's the last dance and we're going to go shit or bust, let's enjoy it. Let's go for it.
Yeah. I also do believe though that we are stronger than we were last season as well, but we will get onto that, I'm sure, as we go through.
I think a lot of the speculation isn't coming from us, it's coming from Bayern, because Levy will have said to Bayern, this is the price, we can negotiate the add-ons and the specific structure, but this is how much it's going to cost you. And Bayern are turning around and basically insulting us with low ball offers. I think this is all coming from Bayern. Levy seems pretty relaxed about it. If he's going to Miami, he obviously isn't too concerned. I very much imagine, he obviously has a price. Everyone has a price. Every player has a price. Now, in Levy's mind, I'm sure it's probably £100 million plus add-ons, so maybe 120 total. If they paid that, Levy has obviously worked out his head. Even if we get Champions League with Kane, the economic impact of losing Kane is outweighed by the immediate cash brought into the club. That's the threshold. That's the number he's worked out at which there is more benefit in selling than keeping. But Bayern aren't. I do wish he would say, look, we've set our price tag. Bayern haven't met it. He stays. That would be lovely. I would love that, but it's never going to happen, is it? Sorry,
mate. TalkSport and Sky are doing their best as well, aren't they? I mean, I don't watch Sky Sports News anymore. I haven't watched it for a long time. Barely listen to TalkSport. I only see little bits that come up on my Twitter feed or whatever. They're always talking nonsense about it. And it's just like everywhere you go. But you're right, James. I think hopefully it will come to a point this week. Hopefully that won't be that he goes, but hopefully some sort of line can be drawn under it all this week, and we can get on with trying to play football and pushing this team on and playing some good football for the first time for a while and start enjoying it.
Yeah. I think Kane's come out himself, if you believe reports, and said that he's fully prepared to stay at Tottenham. And if he plays in the first game of the season, that's it. He stays. In his own mind, he stays. So I think this week is pivotal. But if you was to put a percentage on it, Isaiah, where are you leaning towards now? If you was to say 80-20, 70-30, where are you at?
I would say at this point, I'm going to go 75% chance he stays for this season, just because the amount of time remaining, if Bayern are really coming into a meeting acting very serious, like this is their final bid, whether they're going to stick to that or not, and the best they can put forward is 82 million. I just don't see the clubs reaching an agreement ahead of that Brentford game, and like we've said, it doesn't look like he'll leave if he plays that Brentford game. So I'd say at least 75% chance he stays.
Yeah. Gibbo, where are you at, mate?
Obviously, mate, I genuinely, I think Bayern will come in with another offer. Whether it'll be enough, I don't know. I think we need to get to that Brentford game. I just always in the back of my mind have the Berbatov situation. Can't let that happen this time around. We ended up with Fraser Campbell. I mean, we'll probably end up with Richarlison being our number 9 if, in this situation. But, mate, I'm still not fully convinced. I think they'll come in. I always, like I said, Berbatov in the back of my mind, Levy being the way he is. If that figure gets nearer, I'd probably say I'm still 50-50, mate. And I hope I'm wrong, because as I've said, mate, it's getting late in the window. I don't think we'll bring in a proper replacement for him as a forward. Talking about this Gift Orban lad, he's still young. I don't know what other people's thoughts are, but Richarlison, for me, 15 goals for a season will be good for him. He's never really, he plays for Brazil, but Everton and Watford he's played for, and couldn't trap a bag of cement, mate. So if he's Kane's replacement, that is a massive, massive downgrade. And I don't think we'll go out and spend the money on anyone better than Richarlison. So I really, really, I don't know, mate. I think it's 50-50. I'm just...
Yeah.
Until that transfer window's shut, mate, and he's still here, I just can't get myself in that position where I think he's definitely going to stay.
Yeah, definitely. James, where are you at, mate? Give me a percentage.
I'm a lot more confident. I'd say 80-20. I don't think Bayern will pay the money. Therefore, I think he stays. And I would politely ask every Bayern Munich fan on social media to stop crying just because you can't bully us like you can bully every other team in Germany into selling to you. It won't be anywhere near as bad as Berbatov, right? Like we will, if he were to go in that 20%, we would absolutely sign someone to replace him. I'm actually in the mind of I wouldn't play Richarlison up front. I'd play him on the left. I'd play Son up front. But hey ho, I don't think we'd be screwed if he left. I think we'd sign someone, an attacking option. We do have decent attacking players. Richarlison will start scoring goals. Son will score goals. Kulu will score goals. Maddison will score goals. Someone else coming in will score goals. Like we won't be relegated like some absolute morons on Twitter are suggesting. But do I think we'll get top 5 without him? No. Unless we sign the next Harry Kane, very unlikely. Do I think we'd still probably get some form of Europe? Yes, but I want to watch Champions League, not us against Wi-Fi United in the Conference League.
Wow, I think we've just got to get back into Europe, haven't we? But Craig, what are yours is going to be high that he's staying, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm 80% he stays. I really am. I've got I still maintain if there was any likelihood of him going, he doesn't start that game tomorrow. I just don't think it's anywhere close, and I just don't believe that Bayern are going to break their transfer record to the extent they would have to convince Levy to sell for all the economics that James has eloquently put out there. But more importantly, their behaviour and their approach to this transfer with Kane is disgusting. And the blatant public tapping up of Kane, and not even public, the public tapping of Kane is, you do not do Levy, as much as people criticise Levy, and Levy's got his faults, and we've talked about them at length on this channel and other channels. You don't get on the wrong side of Levy because he'll do what he wants. He'll sell when he wants to, and if you annoy him and you get on the wrong side of him, it's going to make it more difficult. And that's what's happening.
Craig, does it annoy you that Bayern have been putting in derisory bids for our players?
Yeah, well, it's a Man City thing all over again for Kane. I feel sorry for Kane out of all of this. You've got a world-class striker. I think it just goes to show how either disrespected Tottenham are as a club or how undervalued Kane is as a player. And I'm not sure which one it is. It's probably a bit of both of those things. But Man City did it 2 years ago. They messed around. They wouldn't put up the money. They went and spent 100 million on Grealish. If you're going to spend 100 million on Grealish, you're spending more than 100 million on Kane. Fact. They didn't do it. They unsettled him. They tried to get us to sell low ballers. We weren't having it. And Bayern are doing the same. And I've said it so many times. Put up.
It's a good job we don't do stuff like that.
Well, we don't know. We don't really. I think one thing.
It's a good job we don't.
Well, I don't think we do we? Are you alluding that we do?
What? Put in what? We don't do those tactics of going through the media.
No, but not publicly. Not publicly. No, and that's the difference. The only thing, the noise around Tottenham transfers, it comes from solely frustrated Spurs fans. The tweeting and messaging about why have we not just spent the money on Van de Ven? Why have we not just spent the money on Tapsoba? 2 players, by the way, that none of us had heard of 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden it's life or death about whether we bring them in or not. But at the end of the day, the club don't publicly state their targets. Levy doesn't come out and say, we're after this player, we've agreed personal terms. We do everything in the background. And as much as that frustrates Spurs fans because they say, well, nothing's happening, clearly stuff is happening. You just need to look at the centre half we signed from Blackburn. Come from nowhere. It's like, it's not happening. 9 million. The next day he signed, announced. That's what Spurs do, and there's a certain dignity to that approach which I like.
I don't know what Isaiah and James think. And I think Ange will be the same. We've just got we've got to do what's right for the team now. We've got to get to that point where we say he stays, this is the team, and that is and getting things right on the pitch now, going forward, and setting those, getting Ange's sort of systems in place and what he wants to do. We've got to have some stability. And that is what we've got to do. Like, Isaiah, do you agree? We've got to somehow put this to bed and, put the team first in what's happening on the pitch. That's got to be the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree that that's the most important thing. I just don't know that I don't know that we're going to get that kind of communication from the club, because I think Levy will be sort of holding out. Like he won't want to absolutely close the door on the transfer, kind of holding out for, is he going to get that number? Like James said, that number that he's worked out already, that is the right amount of money that makes the Kane transfer better value than keeping him and potentially getting Champions League football.
What's the magic number then, Isaiah? What's the magic number?
It's hard to say. I would think he'd want to see at least. I think he'd want. There's something to be said for the security of getting the full figure, knowing that if you sell Kane, you get this certain amount of money if it's offered, versus if you keep Kane, you have a better chance of getting this amount of money. So it doesn't necessarily need to be, double the value of getting Champions League or all that much more. But I think it needs to be more than 10, 15 million more, because that's just not a lot to risk or to really end your considerable hopes of getting Champions League football for. So I would think it's got to be at least 95 to 100 million pounds plus add-ons. I would think that's going to be the minimum that he's holding out for to see, based on the structure of the deal, if it's going to be of greater financial impact. That's what I'd say.
And that's a good point, though, Isaiah. Sorry, Gibbo. That's a really good point, Isaiah. It's not just about the figure. It's about the structure of the deal, the payment terms that Bayern are trying to propose. Are they going to be saying we want to pay 100 million over the length of a 4-year contract that we give him? Well, that's no good to Tottenham. It's no good to Levy. We're going to put this money down and reinvest it in a striker or whatever position we need to reinvest. We want as much of that money up front as possible. And I don't sense this. And that's the stuff we just don't know what's going on. So they might have met 100 million, including add-ons, but the way they're trying to apportion it over whatever time period may not be suitable.
Yeah. It feels a little bit like Bayern Munich forget they're not playing Football Manager. Anyone who plays it will know what I mean. They're offering, 72 million pounds, right? Okay, up front immediately, then a bunch of add-ons. Well, what are the add-ons, right? Are they completely ridiculous? What's the probability of those being paid? Those are the questions with add-ons. Is it, will he score 10 international hat-tricks? Well, that's an irrelevant quantity of an add-on, isn't it? You know what I mean? I imagine Levy wants 100 million guaranteed in relatively quick succession within, I'd say, probably 2 years. So 25 million every transfer window, plus add-ons. If he wins you the Bundesliga, if he wins you the Champions League, we want an extra 10 million for you winning the Champions League. Bundesliga, extra 5 million. Gets 30 goals, extra 5 million. And Bayern aren't used to that because they don't ever have to deal with that in Germany. They're used to teams basically rolling over and letting them buy players for their first or second offer. I imagine at least 100 million up front plus add-ons, which possibly total 25, 30 million is what Levy has worked out, because probably that's probably roughly what twice the value of Champions League qualification is worth. And, shirt sales are going to be worth a lot of money if he stays. I'm sure the tourists will buy Kane shirts, whether or not he's going in 6 months' time,
What's Europa League revenue then?
Oh, it's less than half.
What do we get in?
It's less than half of Champions League. Prize money is what? It's like, because if you win a game in the Champions League group stage, you get 6 million. If you draw, you get 1 million. So typically, teams who get to the round of 16 get about 50 million in prize money. Plus, there's a ticket sale difference. I imagine Levy would have to sell tickets for less at the Europa League to fill out the stadium. People less interested in the Champions League. Everyone wants to go watch the Champions League knockout games, so you sell more at the home games. And commercial revenue is up, plus shirt sales typically go up. I don't actually know all those statistics in terms of merchandise, but they're going to be a lot more for Champions League. But commercially, from TV revenue, prize revenue that you get from UEFA, it is going to be roughly 50 million to get to the round of 16. I don't know what the new competition is going to look like, but I know the prize money is going to be even higher. Europa League is, I think, closer to 16 million if you get to the round of 16. Maybe 20. Like the reward for getting to the round of 16 in the Champions League is more than winning the Europa League, right?
So if Levy's banking on what you said, then it's Champions League, isn't it? For it to come off and work in his favour how he's thinking with Kane going, it is it's Champions League or nothing, isn't it?
Well, I also think it is partially about sending a message that we're a big club. We're not going to be bullied out of our players. Okay, he might go on a free, but do you know what? Kane isn't going to go. If Kane stays the season, he's not going to Bayern next year on a free, is he? He's going to go to Madrid or some. That's where he's going to go. He's going to go to a big club, right? A Galactico. It's us saying, look, you can't just walk in and buy our players. We're not Spurs of 15 years ago, or even 7 or 8 years ago, where you can do that. We're big now. We're one of you. You can't just pinch our players for nothing. Cough up or piss off.
Chow, mate, if he stays, there's a realistic chance that he could get a Chelsea.
Nah,
I don't see lots of clubs, even how good he is. I don't know what you think, I don't see a lot of clubs banging the door down to get him. And I don't mean that in a real detrimental way, because he is amazing. But I think his big chance was the time he could have gone to City. I think Bayern is his best and only option, and that at this very minute and looking forward. I don't think anybody else is coming. I think Mbappe is Madrid, possibly Man U. I mean, what do you think? Do you think he's got this on his mind? Because I don't think there's many other options out there for him.
Well, it does depend a little bit on how the Mbappe transfer shakes out, where they want to play him as well, and if they think that with Benzema gone and whatever else happens in the next the end of this window and the next with the squad at Madrid, they might be able to create space for them if they're really looking to sort of get back to that. Well, not get back to it. Not like they haven't been dominating European competition, but if they want to sort of recreate the goal scoring impact that Cristiano had, if they want to really elevate the team to just utter dominance, then they could create space for a player who comes with no transfer fee next window to play with Mbappe. I mean, Kane dropping deep and whacking through balls to Mbappe has got to be one of the scariest things I've ever heard of in terms of an opponent. So I would say there is still a realistic possibility that he could find his way to a Madrid. And if he does want to stay in England, I am going to choose to believe he wouldn't go to Chelsea. And I don't think United would be in for him. They've just signed this whatever the Norwegian, however you say his name.
Højlund. Isn't it Højlund?
Yeah, I think that's right. And so I think Kane cares a bit about his Spurs legacy. I don't think he wants to end up with the Spurs fans hating him for joining a rival. Now, if push came to shove, if Bayern go and get another striker, Real Madrid say, no, we've got Mbappe, and United are moving forward with this Højlund kid, then maybe he does say, well, then my only option is Chelsea, and he goes. But realistically, I think he'll have his pick of a few clubs, whether that be PSG, Bayern, Real Madrid, and Chelsea. I think there'll be a few clubs when he's free that look at him as even if we can only get 3 years out of this guy, given his age and his existing lack of pace, he's worth it on a free transfer. So I do think when it comes to the time to be free, that he's on a free transfer, I think he'll have quite a few clubs to choose from. It might still be Bayern. He might just find that that's the place that works best for him and is willing to guarantee him what he wants guaranteed. But I doubt it. I feel like he'll end up somewhere else if Bayern can't get him this window. And I feel like they also know that. And that's sort of why they've been, with all the media antics and the multiple offers and the reporters showing up with Kane shirts, I think a lot of that is because they don't want to have to compete with him or compete for him when he's a free agent.
Yeah. It's a shame, isn't it, Craig? I mean, if he was a really, really top bloke, he'd sign a new 2-year contract, wouldn't he, with a load of release clauses in, if Champions League teams come in for him and if they hit a certain target so people know where they are. And then we could get rid of this worry of losing him for free. And if people hit the release clauses, he can go. That'd be a real top thing of him to do, wouldn't he? Because he's one of our own.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's not as simple as that, though, is it? In football, and it's not about. He is absolutely one of our own, but he and he does love the club. I've got no doubt he loves the club. But he was, whether we like it or not, he was burned by that 6-year contract. And and he did. Yeah, he didn't have to sign it. But I don't think he probably foresaw at the time of signing it the way that the club would go for that 3-year period we've had where it's been utter dross. In this club, and he has been tied in, and I think he is going to wait and make the right decision. But if he doesn't sign for Spurs a new contract, it's not because we haven't put the money up. I've got every faith that he will be, offered whatever he gets offered elsewhere. I think we would match one way or another, give or take. We would match it. But
Plus, you get
time
a free
will tell.
stadium tour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he is, he's invested in Spurs. His family are Spurs. They all support Spurs. This isn't going to be about, him not loving Spurs or being a Spurs. It's going to be what he thinks is the best thing for his career. And that might be finishing and his legacy. And that's why, by the way, in terms of his legacy, I genuinely don't believe that he will go to Chelsea because he just wouldn't do it to his legacy. I just don't believe he would. And no, I might be proved wrong, Gibbo, but
I hope he doesn't, mate. I hope he doesn't. I think it's a long shot, but you can never trust them lot, can you?
Yeah.
But
anyway, 104 people watching. Hit the like and subscribe. 25 people have currently liked. Please do it now. Just press the like button quickly now. And whilst you're there pressing the like button, press the subscribe button. We are tantalizingly close to 7,000 subscribers on this channel. We're literally less than 100 away. So if you're watching this now and you haven't liked and you haven't subscribed, please do both. When we get to 7K viewers, we are going to have some sort of prize draw thing for subscribers and Patreon members of the channel. So make sure you hit it, like and subscribe. Do it now. Let me see those subscribers go up for those that aren't subscribed.
Is Caller going to get rid of some of his shit to people? No, to get 7,000, is he?
No, it's none of it. You're talking about high quality memorabilia, Gibbo.
Yeah, just checking.
Yeah. But we do need to. We're so close to 7K. Make it happen for us, guys. If you're listening, you like what you see, like and subscribe. All right, to them. Well, Kane. Let's leave it there. We all agree Kane stays. We all agree Kane signs a new contract, and we all agree he's going to be top goal scorer in the Premier League this year. I think is what the summary of what we said.
Sounds about right, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the game yesterday. Wow. What a game yesterday. Did you all get to see it, guys? We all watched it one way or another? Yeah. Okay. Let's start with you then, Isaiah. What was your thoughts initially on the lineup?
It was more or less what I was expecting at the back. I did think eventually we'd see a little more of Emerson, and I wasn't surprised to see him come in. I was surprised to see Højbjerg put into the lineup. With all the talk of him potentially leaving and stuff, that kind of got overshadowed for obvious reason by the Kane talk. But I didn't know really where Postecoglou saw Højbjerg fitting into his system. So I was a bit surprised but glad to see him in so that Postecoglou can finish out or can figure out that sort of thing with a player like that who has, for the majority of his career since leaving Bayern, played in very different systems the one that we're going to be playing now. And I think he did pretty well, to be fair. And then for the most part, the rest of the lineup was pretty standard.
Yeah. Gibbo, what did you make to the Højbjerg start? Did you get excited?
No, man. I think it's just because he's reliable, isn't it? He's a reliable player. I think Basuma was carrying a knock. Didn't want to risk him. Put Sarr in there. For whatever people say, Højbjerg is a pretty safe pair of hands. I don't think he's got the qualities what Ange will want going forward, but he did okay. As I said, decent squad player. Looks like we may move him on, but decent squad player. Front three probably picks itself. Back four, nice to see Doggy play. Davis looks like a bloke who just sort of comes in until we get the centre back we want. Romero, yeah, and Emerson. Well, 100% the better defender than Porro, isn't he? So to give that defence a bit of balance. So yeah, pretty much like Isaiah said, pretty much standard really. Would like to have seen Basuma play, but obviously holding him back a bit, aren't they? Making sure he doesn't get anything back. But what is interesting, I was speaking to my lad and I said I had a feeling Sarr would play, and I think Basuma will come in, and I think the midfield three will be Basuma, Sarr, and Maddison to start against Brentford. He likes Sarr, doesn't he? And I think he did all right yesterday.
Yeah, he
seems to have a bit of a thing for him.
One player, James, that he didn't like yesterday, he got particularly frustrated with on the sidelines was Højbjerg. Particularly in that last 5 to 10 minutes towards the end of the half, Højbjerg was you could see actually it was quite interesting, James, obviously being there. You've got on the sideline, you've got Ange shouting, play, as in speed up. Then you got Højbjerg on the pitch going, calm down. And there was this real, and it was quite funny watching the two different, at the same time, Højbjerg saying, calm it down, and Ange saying, speed it up. At the same time, he was particularly wasteful, I think, Højbjerg, in some of his, in particular towards the end of the half, where he got the ball and he hoofed it forward. And Ange certainly showed his frustration several times with Højbjerg.
Yeah, I'd agree. Truth be told, on Sunday I woke up at about 2:30 in the afternoon because I didn't go to bed until about 7 in the morning. So I didn't see the lineup. Woke up, put the game on, was half watching it as I was, waking up, showering, all that jazz. Had it on in the bathroom. I put it on my phone, then put it like at the back of the shower so I could watch it while I was showering. Anyway, overall, very positive performance. I think the thing with Højbjerg is what he's had is he's been at Southampton. Then he's had managerial talents such as Jose Mourinho, Nuno, and Conte, teaching him to basically play this defensive, dreadful form of football. And he's been brainwashed, right? And then Ange is like, no, don't defend, go forward, let's score another, let's win 7-1. And that's refreshing. But Højbjerg isn't used to that. It's going to take time for some players to get used to. It's going to be quicker for some players, those who are here and played their best football under Pochettino, perhaps, like maybe Son or Kane. Maybe it wasn't their best football, but played under that, it's easier for them to remember. Oh, we are allowed to try and score a second goal. We don't have to win 1-0 every week. Oh my, what is this? Do you know what? Ange is almost like the Australian Klopp. In a way, I think he's better than Klopp actually, but that's what he reminds me of. Whereas guys like Højbjerg are like, they're guys who would be perfect for a Simeone or a Neil Warnock. Can you imagine a guy like Højbjerg playing for Pep? Not Pep or Klopp, not really.
He did play for Pep, didn't he, at Bayern?
Yeah, very true. He was a rotational option when he was like 22 in that Bayern team. I don't know. Does Højbjerg suit Ange? Maybe. I think he's good enough to be our backup, holding midfielder, but that's about it. I think Basuma plays in that role ahead of him. But overall, like very, very positive performance. How can you complain about that? But you can obviously see the players that don't, not in their talents suit Ange's system and style, but mentally in the mindset suit Ange's system.
Who are they then? You say Højbjerg. Who else would you put in there?
Well, in terms of the mentality, definitely Højbjerg. I think it actually possibly, he took responsibility for it in a press conference. He was saying, I've been trying to impart this on the entire team and some of them haven't quite got it yet, and it's my fault. I think it's possibly a whole squad issue that after playing under managers who were very defensively minded, Kulu spoke about it. He said he was annoyed that we stopped attacking at 1-0, when we were 2-1 up, because he wanted us to go and score more. And we slowed down at the end of the first half. I think it's a squad-wide issue because they're used to 2-1 up. We slow down, right? We slow it down. We keep it tight. And just like, no. We're better. We're on top. Let's go get a couple more goals so it's out of the picture. We killed the game off. And I think, even Kulu's had that because he's had a year, he's had what? He had 18-ish months of Antonio Conte telling him a 1-goal lead to sit back. So that's ingrained in him, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing, James, I don't know if we'll come on to Isaiah or whatever. The good thing is he's gone in at half time and he's rectified that. He's told them what he expects and what he wants. And the second half performance picked up, didn't it? Because I thought Kulu was, I didn't think he was great in the first half, but the second half, he sort of like, as if he got his ass into gear. Like he'd had a rocket at half time. And like a few of them, he'd obviously told them their fortunes. And you got a better performance. And not just better by sort of like just, being better on the ball or everything, the urgency, everything about it. And after the game, he still wasn't happy because he said, obviously, that bit at the end. So he's trying to instill those things in them, and he's not shy of getting into them and making sure they go out and do a bit more. Do you agree with that, Isaiah? The second half was a lot better, wasn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely was. And I think I wasn't there, obviously, but from what I've heard, sort of the rumblings on social media, one of the other players that Postecoglou was really, really digging into and shouting at quite a bit was Son. Because Son was struggling to sort of stick to the way he wants him to play along the touchline, get to the end line and cut it back. And it's even for a player like Son, who everyone reasonable within this fan base recognizes is a very good, is a fantastic player and can absolutely play at the highest level. And we've seen him at the highest level. But even for him, he's being asked to sort of play a different role to the way he normally plays off the left side, which is very much sort of like a left tip in the past few seasons. And even back to the Pochettino days, is very much like a left forward. And now he's having to sort of readjust his game. And I think given we've only had a few preseason games, Højbjerg's hardly played. It's going to be similar. And I think he was a lot better. Son was a lot better in the second half. I think Højbjerg was better in the second half. The whole team sort of lifted. And I think it's one of those sort of transitional moments for an entire squad to come into a halftime leading a game, albeit a friendly against Ukrainian side, but leading the game and having the manager just tearing into you because for the last 5 minutes of that half, you slowed the pace down and sort of settled into those old habits. And I think it was Højbjerg who when he hoofs the ball away towards the end of the half, it was that giveaway of possession that led them to come back down the other way and score the goal.
Yeah.
And so I think that could be one of those moments that really like flips a switch a bit for some of the players, or at least gets players on their way towards removing those old habits. And I'm not one of the people who thinks Ange has certainly I wasn't a huge fan of the appointment, and I'm not one of the people who thinks he's going to be this huge transcendent force of glory at Spurs. But if he's going to have any amount of success, whether it be Bill Nick or Pochettino level success, the players are going to have to buy into his system, and that is going to take time. And it is a shame that the preseason has been so spotty. Losing the match against Roma, having the match canceled in where was it, Thailand, that it was canceled. And hopefully, the early games of the season, those things they don't kill us in the first few games. I think I saw a chart that says we have one of the easier starts in terms of where teams finished last season. So hopefully the players can sort of continue to feel their way into it. And I really hope we see an improvement on that fact against Barcelona from players like Højbjerg and from players like Son, if they play. Because it's going to be very important that we're able to integrate this system quickly. But it is going to take time for a lot of players, not just Pierre.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to say that, Gibber, isn't it? That you can't moan the way that we're playing. We've already in the preseason friendlies. I mean, in every preseason friendly we've had so far, we've had at least, I believe, 30 shots on target, or 30 shots in total, there or thereabouts. Yesterday was 30 plus shots, 20 shots on target. I mean, and not just that, the intricacies of what Ange is trying to get us to do is becoming really visible. The patterns of play, the movement amongst the players, the speed of the play. the pressing higher up the pitch, the inverted fullbacks from Udogie and Royale yesterday, which by the way was particularly prominent more yesterday than I've seen in other friendlies. It's coming together, isn't it? I mean, we're in terms of pre-season. Yes, we lost that one fixture to Roma. We lost the second fixture. We had the Thailand rain thing, but
lost to West Ham.
We lost to West Ham, but we dominated that game. First game, we dominated the game.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, you were there yesterday. What was he like second half on the touchline? Was he happy with the second half performance visibly?
Yeah, 100%. He was better. He was absolutely happier. I mean, he was still frustrated at times. There were still things we did where he sort of he can't play poker, that boy. He lets you know what he's thinking. It's and there was a few times when he wasn't as prominent. That 5 minutes in the first half was the worst. He was proper angry. He was really, really frustrated. Second half, it was just occasional gesturing of the hands or pointing. Why didn't he play the ball out that way? Why didn't he play it that way? But he was definitely better. But the team lifted, didn't they? The team were just better. What I would say in that first half as well, Shakhtar really, there were plenty of bodies in the box. They made it difficult. So when that ball was going out to that Son on the left side, when he was coming in with it onto his right foot, he was going into traffic. There's so many bodies in there. I think the second half, the relentless pace at which we played, we just broke them down time and time again. They couldn't deal with it.
No, but that's what it's about. That's what he's after, isn't it? That he said relentless. We need to be relentless. That was one of the words he used.
Yeah.
But look, mate, I mean, it's a friendly. It's going to take time because that against real top class teams, when those moves break down and you're pushing bodies forward against real quality, you're going to get hurt, aren't you? They're going to hurt you when you make those mistakes, which Shakhtar really couldn't do. But so it's going to take time. We've got to be patient. But there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that watching Spurs this season will be a far more enjoyable experience than it has been for a long while.
Yeah, we will create 20 against Brentford. We will have 20 plus shots on goal, guaranteed. You know that before we even go into the game. Now, defensively, of course, there's question marks. We saw it yesterday when Shakhtar were trying to get us on the break and we got caught out a couple of times. But we did seem to handle it a little bit better than we had in previous preseason friendlies. We are improving. We are getting better, and we know that he's going to bring in new centre backs. We know we'll talk about that in the next segment. We know Van der Ven's on his way, so it's all looking positive, mate. But the biggest thing for me yesterday was the movement and the energy. And what I would say, Shakhtar are 2 or 3 games into their season. They're up and running in their season. And fitness-wise, we was at a different level to them. Particularly in that second half, you saw it come through. And it's not like we had 2 teams. What did he make? Three substitutions, I believe. 4 substitutions in the game, and that was all after 70 minutes.
Scarlett,
Sar came off. Yeah, Sar, Lo Celso, and Skip and Solomon came on, and that was it. And the level of fitness was point. Is on point. We're looking good for the start of the season. There's no doubt.
Hopefully, tomorrow will be a test. Barcelona.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, and Ange has come out and already said that it's going to be a completely different 11 against Barcelona, which, by the way, I also said last week on our show, Giro, didn't I? There'll be 2 different 11s. Yeah, I said that as well, and you said it wouldn't be. But, we'll paper over that for a minute. I can clip it, mate. I can clip it if you want.
Clip it if you got the time, mate. Yeah.
But he has said it'll be a different 11. So, I think the result, I mean, what I'm interested in, I guess one of the questions I wanted to come to, if I may, in terms of Royale, James, I don't know if you've obviously saw the games, Royale and Destiny Udogie, who, by the way, is an animal. He is so strong and big, that guy. A lot bigger than you realise in person. But did you notice, James, about the how inverted they were? I mean, at times, Royale was closer, his central midfield closer to the left back, our side of the pitch, than he was on his. Really, really good to see that sort of tactical development over that game. Did you pick them up too?
Yeah, it's modern football, right? In practice, in possession, it's a 3-5-2, 3-2-5, right? Fullbacks invert. Why do fullbacks invert in the modern game? Because if you have your two centre-backs, right, this is one line, these are the centre-backs, here are the fullbacks, they invert. Because then you have four players in a box, goalkeeper's there. Very easy to build up. Box, very natural passing shape, right? Then the midfielders can push up. This is just what modern football now is. Pep was doing it at Barca in the 2010s. Not quite so much of a fullback inversion. They would press up. But this is just where the game's currently at the top level. The fact that we're playing that is brilliant. That's what we need to be doing. We can't be playing outdated tactics from 1974 anymore. Well, maybe total football. But it's just the next evolution of where possession-based pressing football is going. It's great to see that the players are taking it on. I have no doubt Ange understands the game as well as any other manager in football. I genuinely think he is a top 3 manager in the world. If he was English and he was an ex-player in England, everyone else would think that. But because he's managed in Asia, no one cares about him. It's brilliant to see the fact that we're actually playing this modern football. Like the fullbacks inverting makes it easier in the build-up play, creates a lot more space, offers more defensive solidity. And then when you're going forward, Destiny can bomb down the left-hand side and offer more width. I mean, Emerson Royale is a good fullback in terms of his defensive work. No one questions the ability to defend. But going forward, it's a bit more questionable. But, I do look at that and I think that is a balanced back line. When Big Nick steps up, we've got a good left-sided centre-back, quick, tall, strong. Romero. Emerson is very competent defensively. Destiny, that guy's the next Bale. Well, maybe not as good.
I'll tell you what, I do think, James, I mean, you've made some bold predictions there, by the way, and I have bookmarked the time and the dates in my diary to reflect on some of these. No, I will, because I think, I'm not saying some of what you said is wrong. I think, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But Udogie, by the way, I agree with you. He's special. He's going to be special. He's different gravy, that boy. Really excited for him. Yeah, I'm going to pick up on a comment, if I may. I know I just want to sidetrack. Next Level English has made this comment in the group chat. Sorry, I was trigger happy. Funny how we've forgotten that we're probably the worst in the Premier League games and the games against Newcastle. Well, yeah, I don't think we've forgotten that. It's etched into our memory in my mind's eye. We know how bad we were, but we're already a different side. The fact of the matter is, it's well publicised that the squad was done. It was cooked, wasn't it, at that point in the season? The season was over. It wasn't brought into what's happening managerial-wise. It was just gone. But the other thing, I think, talking about yesterday's team, if I may, and just to make a point, Vicario, the keeper, Udogie, left-back, James Maddison, and then who come on, Lo Celso and Solomon. 5 players there that weren't in our squad last year at all. 5 new signings. The transformation in this squad, really, without buying too many players, because of what we've managed to get out of Lo Celso and Udogie that was on loan this year. Gibbo, we're looking at a new side, aren't we? Pretty much a half of a new side this season.
Yeah, well, obviously, like you just said that, and I know it's an old cliche, but like Basuma will be a little bit like a new signing, won't he? He did. Yeah. Obviously he did play, but we didn't see what he was really about. I mean, Isaiah will know a lot about that because he's into his stats and his tactics and that. But what we saw of Basuma last year isn't half of what he can sort of do. Like you said, Lo Celso's come in, looked decent. Udogie coming back in. So we have, but that's what we needed, that, Craig. That squad had grown stale. Even, players who are all right, just you think to yourself, we need to just sort of move them out the club because we need a fresh, we need fresh impetus and sort of like new blood and just new ideas and new attitude. So we need that, mate. And obviously you said that already. We're going to come on to it in a minute, but hopefully there's going to be another name into that mix. Like, looks like we've signed another centre-back, doesn't it? In Van der Ven. So that'll be another one. and you'd like to think he's probably going to be in the starting 11. Probably. Not maybe against Brentford, but sooner rather than later.
Well,
so
I mean,
like you said,
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, Gibbo, because I actually wonder whether he will be in the starting 11. And just on that, it was notable. Obviously, Davis has started most games now in pre-season at left centre back. I think that probably goes to show more about where Ange is in terms of he wants that left side of centre back to be left-footed. Really big for him to be left-footed, and he's the only player in that squad right now, left-footed centre back that can do it. It's clear, isn't it, that Dyer is going to be playing back up to Romero this season. I think that's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, shall we sort of get onto it, because I did some good work on it. You talking about
absolutely. Can I just before we get there, Isaiah, I just want to talk about. I want to make a special get a view from the panel tonight on Maddison, who I thought was sensational yesterday. What, James, is he going to bring to Tottenham Hotspur this season?
Well, we finally replaced Eriksen, haven't we? My hair's really annoying me. I'll continue. He's spectacular. I mean, I think no, that's not my style.
You've not got an Alice band. You've got an Alice band knocking about.
It doesn't work. My hair isn't quite long. Right. Talking about Maddison, not my hair. James Maddison, easily 20 goal contributions next season. Predicting that. Clip it. In 12 months, you owe me a pint. Goals and assists. Very creative. He was superb against Shakhtar. He's the kind of player we've been screaming out for since Eriksen left, right? Attacking player, creates a ton of opportunity. He's what I thought someone like Tanguy and Ndombele or Lo Celso would be. Even though I think Lo Celso's actually been quite good this preseason and will play a part. Attacking player, he can play anywhere. He can play as an 8, he can play as a deep 8, he can play on the right wing, he can play on the left wing. This guy's brilliant, right? And he's going to offer us goals and assists. And finally, hallelujah, someone to prevent Harry Kane from taking free kicks. If we sign him just for that, I would support his signing. Because finally, if you're at the game and you're in Rosie, you don't have to hide. You don't have to do this to prevent yourself from getting hit by a Harry Kane free kick. Love you, Kane, but you can't take free kicks, mate. So I predict we might actually score a goal from a direct free kick this season. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? But yeah, no, he's a brilliant player. We've seen reports that he's having a really positive influence in the dressing room, that he's really positive, upbeat, and is a leader. Brilliant. I think he's going to play a huge role for us. He's an Ange player through and through. And you know what? I reckon he'll be in the England setup for next Euros.
Yeah, I think you're right. Isaiah, what did you make to Maddison yesterday? Great assist for Kane, wasn't it? That crossover for Kane, it would put on a plate for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say too much more than what James said. We finally replaced Eriksen, and I think one thing that well, I definitely didn't know anything about the signing coming into it, but
we did Isaiah. So Mystic Gibbo, Mystic Craig.
Well done to you guys, but I think whether we knew about it or not, pretty much all Spurs fans were pretty excited about when the rumors got started and when the signing finally came through. And for me, it's just been someone that, you know, ever since Eriksen left, and even before that, like, maybe just right as Eriksen left, it was sort of the name on everybody's mind for who that natural replacement was, given his age, homegrown status, where he was playing. But I also think he gives us a bit more than Eriksen does because of what James said with his flexibility. And I think he's just got that little bit more pace, that little bit more like running into the box, like what Dele gave us. He gives us a little bit of what Dele would give us, and a great deal of what Eriksen gave us. And I think that's such a brilliant combination for someone in a system like this, where we intend to dominate possession in every game against every opponent. You need someone who you can give the ball to, and if he's got to shift it out of his feet in 1 second, he can do that. If he needs to take a space, carry it in, release a shot or a cross or a through ball, he can do all of those things quickly and without making mistakes in congested areas in the middle of the pitch or on the right or on the left. So I think I think he gives us more than Eriksen did, and I think he'll be better for us than Eriksen was. And I don't think that 20 goal contributions this season is an unreasonable. I think it's a very reasonable benchmark that he should be setting for himself, and that should be around where our expectations are, and he could well exceed that. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and it really was sort of a dream signing. And I sort of thought I got a little overexcited when that signing came in. I felt like they were just going to keep flooding in for the rest of the window. But yeah, he's just a brilliant player.
Yeah. Gibber, I mean, we are looking good going forward, aren't we? Assuming we keep Kane just for the moment. You've got Son and Kane assisting each other left, right, and centre in his seasons up to now. We've now got Maddison in that mix. I mean, it's going to do wonders for us, isn't it, from a goal perspective? Plus, playing in a style whereby we're creating 4 or 5 times more chances than we have under Conte or Mourinho ball.
Yeah, because I mean, Bentancur and Højbjerg probably got 10 between them last season, did they? Around that figure. So you could do with somebody like Maddison coming in and getting 10 on his own, and then maybe the other 2 midfielders getting 4 or 5 each. That'll be, if you've got Kane banging in his goals, Son, up in his goal ratio a little bit, which is definitely something he could do. You've got to look at Kulusevski starting to score a few more goals. At the minute, I know it's only been 18 months, but could really do with him scoring another 4 or 5 a season, couldn't we? At least, if you're one of those front three, really, you want like Kane bagging the most. You want Son 15, and you want the other forward guy who's coming into it be getting 12 to 15 goals, don't you? You're on your way. Then you look at Liverpool when they were flying. Their front three were doing that. So that's what we really need. Kulusevski, Scott banging some goals in. So if Maddison adds to that mix, looking all right, aren't we? But yeah, great signing, mate. I do like to see. He's a Spurs player, mate. That's the type of players I want to see Spurs signing. I want to, people who want to get on the ball, want to make things happen, want to play on the front foot. That's what I want to see Spurs players doing. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him play. And hopefully, I mean, he had a great season for Leicester goals return.
Yeah. To
be fair, last season. So I'm hoping he can push on from that this season at Spurs.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's move on to the next segment then to talk about incomings. As I said at the start of the show, Van de Ven was at the ground yesterday, flew in on his private jet straight to the game, into the stadium, sitting in a corporate box, just up from where we were. Isaiah, you've done some good work in terms of scouting this guy for us, looking at what the stats tell us. Who are we signing, and should we be excited?
I think we should be cautiously excited, but excited all the same. I do think that there's a little bit to be said for some of his defensive frailties being just a result of being young and inexperienced. But some of the same areas where we see, maybe Dyer and Davies falling a bit short, he does as well. Just in terms of he is a little bit better on the duels than Davies, but compared to Longley or Tapsoba, he is a little bit behind on sort of those ground and aerial duels. So not so much the tackles, but just more 50-50 situations. He isn't quite as strong winning or maintaining possession in those situations. And again, he's only 22, and he's only just turned 22 in April. So it's still he's going to be improving a lot, we would hope, over the next 2 to 3 years. I do worry a bit about him being our only left center back signing to this point, because if he does come into the team and show that he's a bit too raw, a bit too inexperienced, and we're conceding goals as a result of that, that would be a bit concerning. But it's hard to say that he's not an obvious improvement over having to put Eric Dyer or Ben Davies at that left center back spot, even coming in as young and inexperienced as he is. He just has the pace, the ability on the ball, the confidence. Really, he just, having watched him play a bit since the since the first time Fabrizio Romano said we'd signed him. He looks a very confident player. He's aggressive, but not as reckless as Romero. So I think he does give a good balance to Romero in that sense. He just needs to improve in those aerial duels and those ground duels, and I think we'll see a much more complete player. Very good passer. He actually shows a pretty similar statistical profile to Langlais in the key areas of advancement past Langlais is his dribble success, and also just the biggest one is pace. You can't have a guy like Langlais with all of the strengths that he does have being exposed for his biggest weakness, which is just his inability to turn and sprint. I mean, he looks 60 out there when he's in transition, and Van de Ven will not. He is absolutely rapid, and it's going to be a nightmare for one of the things we've struggled with in the years past is quick strikers getting in behind our defense in transition. You know, in the previous years we played possession systems, and he will make that very difficult because he's going to be faster than the vast majority of strikers he's coming up against. And if he and Romero can form a really cohesive unit where they're stepping up at the same time, dropping back at the same time, I really think it's going to be really difficult to get in behind us, especially with confident and athletic young keeper like Vicario behind them. I think it's a really huge signing for us. I just think we should give him time to sort of get over that learning curve, learn some of the improve on his physical attributes in terms of bulking up, and sort of learn how to win more of those duels so that he's retaining and winning possession more often than not. And at that point, I think he'll really be the finished article, sort of a pacey and Vertonghen, if I can be so bold.
Sounds good. Interestingly, Ben Davies obviously got found, didn't he, for his heading yesterday? He got caught short, didn't he, for their goal? Probably should have done better with that aerial duel there, to be fair. Seemed to get on the other side. So overall then, exciting signing, Gibbo.
Yeah, I mean, he seems it, doesn't he? He's young. Like, obviously, Isaiah was saying, how tall is he, Isaiah?
He's listed at 6'4" in one place, but most of the places is 6'5".
Well, if you're 6'5", you should be half decent in the air, shouldn't you? So, you know, he should be. You know, we shouldn't be worrying about a 6'5" player not being great in the air. But he like as I said, he's rapid. If we play a high line, we need someone with a bit of pace. We're not blessed. I mean, Udogie looks quick. I've not seen a lot of him, but I've heard that he likes to go up the pitch. And from watching yesterday, Udogie likes to get up the pitch as well. So if they're both playing like left-hand side of the defence, you know, that's something that we're going to have to make sure, like as I said, about working in unison with the other defenders, that we're not leaving ourselves exposed. But yeah, he's a young lad. You know, there's got to be room for improvement, you know, with young players. So we've paid a decent chunk of money for him. Looks like he's the guy coming in. So hopefully, mate, Ange can get him doing what he needs him to do, and he'll be a welcome addition, because we need new centre backs, don't we? We need a bit of pace. We need somebody who's a bit more aggressive and physical alongside Romero. So looking forward to it. And hoping he's as good as people say he is.
Yeah, it should be good. Obviously, James, Van de Ven, we expect to be announced probably tomorrow or later on this week. Probably won't make it over to Barcelona, I suspect, anyway.
A little bit of news. Sorry, Craig. I did just see that I reckon Paul O'Keefe has said, who's obviously a lot of the stuff he puts, people take stock in. He has said that he thinks Van de Ven and the Argentinian lad we'll speak about in a minute will be in the squad for Barcelona game.
Right. Oh, interesting. Well, that will be good. That will be really good. Really good. I mean, that'll be interesting. I mean, if he's got any intent, Gibbo, of starting him in the first game of the season, you've got to think he'll get some decent minutes with you at Barcelona Wednesday.
I don't.
Is it Wednesday? Wednesday night? Is it Wednesday night?
I thought it was tomorrow. Might be Wednesday.
Yeah. Don't know. I can't remember. Sure, someone in the chat will tell us. Okay, great. Just quickly in terms of centre backs, obviously, Postecoglou did say in his press conference that he recognised that we need to sign strikers. Said Van de Ven wasn't done yet, but said that there was hoping to get 2 in over the next few weeks, is what he said. So makes it seem like there's potentially another centre back going to come in. Tapsoba, would you say, Isaiah? Would that be your pick?
I mean, sort of. I'm a little bit partial to Laporte, but he doesn't provide any cover for the right side. Tapsoba being so ambidextrous and comfortable on his left foot, which is technically his weaker foot. Thanks, but I think he could provide cover for Romero ahead of Dyer as well, and I think that would be an important gap between one knock to Romero, and all of a sudden we've got Eric Dyer in a high line next to sort of the raw Van de Ven. I mean, that sounds like a nightmare to me. So I would love to see Tapsoba in because he can cover either center back. He can be the starting left center back, and if Romero goes down, it can be him and Van de Ven playing two capable, pacey players who can play a high line, play on the ball, where you don't have to see Eric Dyer play. That sounds great to me. But Laporte's also, in my opinion, a really good option. He's obviously familiar with these possession systems and playing high in the opponent's half, carrying the ball, sending long balls. He's obviously, we know he's good at all of that, and he has plenty of experience. So just as a pure left center back, he would be my first choice. I think Van de Ven could learn a lot from him. But as potentially cover for both center backs, it would be Tapsoba for me.
Interesting. And on top of the arrival of Van de Ven, the potential arrival of a second, we've also signed a third, well, potentially the third in Ashley Phillips. Gibbo, interestingly, with the press release of his signing, it was clear, wasn't it, what was said, that he is going to be part of the first team squad this year. He made the point about saying his aspirations for this year is to be around the first team and try to make a few appearances. So guess that's one we'll see in cup games, potentially, early round cup games. Potentially.
I mean, didn't he finish 8 games for Blackburn, which isn't a lot. So he's obviously well thought of. Get him around the first team squad. I think we've got to look at moving Rodon on, haven't we? So if he can fulfil that role in the squad at such a young age, he's got time on his side, hasn't he? So if he gets a couple of substitute appearances, a couple of cup games or whatever he's getting Premier League experience at a bigger club than Blackburn. So it's one of them, isn't it? 2 million. If it pays off, brilliant. If it doesn't quite work out, likelihood is because he's English, and if he's okay, you'll probably get that money back, maybe a little bit more if he plays a few games. So fingers crossed that he becomes a decent player for us. But James, have you seen a lot of him play? I think he actually played for. He's playing for England now, but I think at one point he played for Wales, didn't he?
So he went from Wales to England?
Yeah. Came to his senses.
Traitor.
Came to his senses, mate.
Came to his senses. Nah, traitor. Like Declan Rice, then another traitor. Well, Declan Rice can never set foot in Ireland again, can he? If he wants to leave Ireland, that is. No, ultimately the question here is: it's a squad player, it's a club signing. He's young, he's got a high ceiling, he's well thought of. Is he better than Davinson Sanchez? Yeah, probably. Anyone's better than Davinson Sanchez. Fat Mike from down the local pub's better than Davinson Sanchez. The 70-year-old disabled bloke I'm friends with in my local Wetherspoons is better than Davinson Sanchez. So, yeah, and he's going to be on not a lot of wages. He's homegrown. He fits all the criteria. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, maybe he starts against, I don't know, Cheltenham in the first round of the FA Cup, right? Beautiful. Right, gets those minutes. If it doesn't work out, we don't really lose anything. It's a low risk, high reward transfer. We've surely got to think about moving on, like Sanchez and
Rodon.
Rodon, yeah, Rodon. I think it actually is a good player. hasn't worked out for Spurs, isn't good enough to play for Spurs, needs to be moved on. Go to Swansea. No, well, don't go to Swansea. Go to Cardiff, mate. Go to a proper Welsh team. Go to Cardiff. But, we can move on those two guys, and then we have that, bit of cover, especially with Mick. I was about to say, who the hell's Van der Ven? Do you mean Big Dick Mick? I mean, Big Mick.
Easy.
But, you got Mick coming in. You got this guy coming in, plus maybe one more. Yeah, we need to move on Rodon and Sanchez and Dyer hopefully one day. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Homegrown, young talent, cost us nothing, no real risk. We'll be able to sell him on, right? And surely if you're going to have squad players, guys, you only get a couple games a season, you want them to be guys who, in a couple seasons' time, could be pushing for a first-team place. My only thing with that is maybe, look at Romero and you look at Big Mick. They're both quite young, right? It's not like we have an aging centre-back partnership. There's maybe not as much experience in that back line as perhaps we'd like. That's my only real concern when I look at that. But I do think it's a very shrewd signing. It's very Levy, but for once, I think it is a very good signing.
Before your time, James, we used to do that quite a bit. We used to buy young British talent from, lower league clubs. Sometimes, or sometimes teams that were lower in our league. But they didn't always come off. Quite a few of them, were rubbish, like Callan Davenport and people like that. But we did used to do that, didn't we, Craig? That was and that was under Enoch as well, wasn't it? Early Enoch days, we used to do that. So
we did it well.
Yeah, sometimes Dawson. Got Dawson from Forest, didn't we? And we got Andy Reid at the same time. So
we got Trippier from Burnley, right?
Yeah,
Danny Rose from Leeds.
Trippier, Burnley, Danny Rose, Leeds.
Walker as well, right? He came
Walker
from
with Sheffield United, with
Sheffield
Kyle
United.
Norton. So we used to do that, and if you do that quite often, you're probably gonna, like we said, you're gonna have a few misses, but you're hopefully and more than likely you're gonna have a few successes as well. So I haven't got a problem with those types of signings. I haven't got a problem with them all. Like Sarr, I mean, how much did we pay for Sarr initially? I mean, he's still only 19, isn't he? Like someone's put in the chat, Delhi from MK Dons.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with making those signs. We probably should have signed Maddison before he went to Leicester. We were looking at him back then. And I think it just because of where we were at the time, I think we sort of thought we should be maybe looking a little bit bigger and a little bit higher. But, there's nothing wrong with those signings at all.
No, there's not. Talking about one of those signings, we're linked with, do you know, what's his name again? The Argentinian forward?
Valise.
Valise. What's the inside track on that one?
Well, he anything you read about him, it tends to start with, I mean, he's big and really good in the air. For a striker, his headed clearance numbers are very high. It's clearly someone that his Argentinian club, Rosario, they clearly were bringing him back in the box to defend set pieces because he has quite a few headed clearances compared to most other attacking players. He is 6'4". He's only just turned 18. He's a big kid, and he's probably going to get bigger as he gets closer to 20, 21, 22. Just naturally, and now working out in a Premier League training ground and Premier League gym. So I definitely think in terms of a lamppost type striker, he's already we've already now got that the Llorente type player who you can bring him on, and if you're swinging crosses in left and right, he's already a target. The other parts of his game that we can see improvement in the coming years, whether that be through loans or if he's going to stick around the first team, is sort of getting involved in link-up play. Not that he needs to drop deep like Kane, but being sort of a part of the build-up. He doesn't get a lot of touches outside of the box. 10 of his 11 goals were inside the box. He's not too keen to shoot on his left foot. Almost all of his shots are either headers or come off his right. He hasn't scored with his left. All of his goals last season is yes, I'm being corrected. He's 6'1", not 6'4". he's headers and right foot. He doesn't have much of a weak foot going for him. So there's, of course, for someone who's just turned 18, there's going to be that sort of. Wait, I might be. Let me check my sheet. I might be mixing up his age.
I think he is 19. I think he's 19, 20.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure, mate. You've got it, yeah.
Yeah, he is. But he got 23 games in the Argentinian league last season. He outperformed his XG by 2 goals, or roundabouts 2 goals. And a goal every 163 minutes as a teenager is a very good rate of production, especially not being a guaranteed starter, and being in a team that wasn't dominating games, wasn't scoring a ton, and wasn't creating a lot of chances for him. He only had 9 expected goals. He scored 11, and only one of those being a penalty. So I think all of those kind of like finishing instinct, making good runs, getting on the end of crosses, all of those fundamentals that you want a striker to have, he's just got naturally. And so I think everything else that you can teach him and help him build into his game is just bonus. And obviously it's something he needs to play to be a starter at the highest level. If he is to be the replacement for Kane somewhere down the line, he would need to build those things into his game. His pass accuracy is a little bit low, but in terms of his shooting accuracy, it's really, really high. And he shoots a lot. He's just got all of those things that you want of a striker. He just needs to sort of round off the rest of the parts of his game, improve his finishing a little bit, and improve his passing for the main thing, and sort of ability to read the game in terms of how to distribute the ball to other players who can get it back to him in the penalty area where he wants to spend all of his time.
But as we said, Isaiah, when you get young players, there's always room for improvement, isn't there? That's part of being a young player. So that's to be expected. So, look, it's another one I don't really have a problem with. The figures you're paying in nowadays money wasn't ridiculous, was it? So, like you said, you've picked out some good stuff there. Like some real good content you've given there on those players. Like me and Craig know nothing about these people, do we, Craig? We don't play Football Manager. We don't play FIFA. So we need you young guys coming on here and giving us the lowdown on these players. We only know people from the Premier League. We only know the ones we see on the telly, don't we, mate?
Exactly. But Gibbo, as soon as we hear name, that's it, we're all in. Like they're the best players in the world. Got to sign them. Bloody hell, Levy, do your job.
We check their FIFA. We check their FIFA ratings, don't we? As soon as we see the name,
exactly.
Get on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Never do that. Never do that. If there's a player we're linked to and you're curious about, search up their Football Manager stats, because Football Manager have actual scouts. They have the biggest scouting network in the world for football players. Go to Football Manager. I mean, it's still a game, but it's more realistic than FIFA. It's not called FIFA anymore. It's called FC24 now, I think, because their contract with FIFA ended. But anyway, FIFA's terrible. Play Football Manager.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, James, and all you cheeseheads watching out there. For your information, if you go and look at their FIFA stats, don't bother. Do Football Manager.
Little. Here you go. Little stat for everyone listening and you guys in the panel. I am in Football Manager as a coach. Just so you know, you can find me in FIFA Manager as a coach. So
really?
Have a little search. You will find me in there. Yeah, I've not got the best stats. I'm not going to lie. You wouldn't want to have me to your coaching staff if you was managing Tottenham or whatever in Football Manager, but I'm on there. So that's what you get for managing a semi-pro football team. All right, let's talk with lots of ins coming in then, James. I wonder what that means in terms of outs. We have got a hugely bloated squad now. It's even getting more and more bloated with these signings. It's going to burst, isn't it? Something got to go. Who's going? Reports today that one of those that will be going is Spence. Not surprising, really. It's just not worked out from Spurs. Something's fundamentally wrong there, isn't there?
Sad that, because he's obviously got immense talent, but he's just never seemed to work out. Is it an attitude thing? Who knows? But he doesn't fit Ange, I don't think. When you've got Emerson in front of him, who's pretty established within the club, and you've got Pedro Porro. Well, he spent nearly 15 million on him. He's not going to be going anywhere. He's only been here 6 months. We don't need 3 right backs. So yeah, it kind of makes sense he'd go. It's a shame really, but he'll find a club in the Championship or a lower half of the Premier League. So I don't think he'll be too difficult to sell. Also on that list is Davinson Sanchez. He rejected a move to somewhere in Russia. Who cares? It's Russia. Don't go there. Cess would be on that list, but he's injured, unfortunately, because we can't sell him. Højbjerg will go for the right fee, apparently. Ndombele is also on that list. I think in a year's time, Dyer's going to be on that list as well. Rodon's certainly on that list. I don't think Perisic will be sold, actually. I think Perisic will stay for another year because he's not the worst cover in the world, is he?
I think if the money comes in for Parrott, someone's saying, I think you'd probably take that now at the moment, don't you? If you don't think he's, you don't think he's the man. If you don't think he's got the future, you move.
He's no divine. Yeah, I don't think we'll get a lot for any. I mean, Sassini in 6 months' time might get 10 for, and Ndombele might get 10 for. Tanganga, 5 million for. Sanchez, the fee looks to be around 12 million was the bid to be accepted. So anything north of 10 will get. Rodon, who knows? An IOU from a Welsh team, maybe. I mean, Welsh player, he's a Welsh international, which gives him a bit more value, but Welsh players typically want to be near the Welsh camp, so wouldn't surprise me if he went to Cardiff or Swansea just to be near the team. Perisic, I don't think he'll go. I think he'll stay. Spencer's obviously going to go, what we get for him, 5-10 million, maybe some performance-based add-ons. I reckon we won't raise a lot of money from any sales, but we'll save a hell of a lot of money in wages. And we'll reduce the size of the squad down, and you never know, in 6 months' time, there may be some bigger heads on the chopping block because Ange has decided their mentality isn't up for it. They can't play what we want. It's been said that if the right offer came in for someone like Højbjerg, he'd go. And also, missed from this is Lloris. He's definitely out the door, but no movement seems to be happening with him. So I don't quite know what's going there. Is he just going to be left in the reserves on his own in the corner the whole season? Is there no team in France that fancies picking up? Because I'm sure we'd let him go for practically nothing. Surely there's someone in France who fancies him. I'm not sure what's going on there. But we've got a lot of players who need to go away, sort of thing. Maybe we could have just left them in Australia, but we're not seeing much movement on it. The only outgoing is Harry Winks, and that was basically the Maddison deal, wasn't it? So it is bizarre.
Busy couple of weeks, mate. I think you'll have some loans, some sales. Maybe with some of them, if you're trying to get players from other teams, you might be able to stick a few of them. There's pot of sweeteners in the deal, maybe. But yeah, I think they've got a lot of stuff to sort out, haven't they? They've got to get some people out. So we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work to be done in the next couple of weeks in terms of outgoings. But it's also the market's not there for them. The only there's not a lot of clubs with the money to go out and take these wages. It's not about what we're going to sell them for. It's the wages that they're going to command. That's the thing. So it's going to be interesting. Really good point. Louise, by the way, that is a strange one, and that's been commented in the group. I don't think I expect anything. I think that is one where we'll probably end up ripping up his contract if he's not sold by the end of the window, and he will be let go. Spencer's another one, really strange. All right, so then looking ahead to Barcelona then as the final segment, and then we'll call it a day. It's been a marathon session tonight. Ange has said in the press conference that it will probably be a completely different 11 tomorrow. So we expect to see everyone that was on the bench today will probably start. For you, as a final point, James, was that team yesterday what you think was the starting 11 for Brentford, or do you think it's nothing to be read into at this point?
I don't know. I think the team that will maybe play again. Well, no, because Ange said he'd play an entirely different 11 against Barcelona. It's hard to read into, I think, personally. I think maybe Lo Celso might start. I don't think Sarr will start. Maddison will. If Kane's still here, which I think he will be, he'll start. I think Son will start. I think Kula will start. Does Mick start? That's another question. Vicario will definitely start. Romero will definitely start unless he gets injured. I think Royal will start. I think Destiny will start. Mick will start if he's had enough time. I think Basuma will definitely start. I think Maddison will definitely start. Son, Kane, Kulu will start. And then is it Sarr or maybe Lo Celso? My ideal 11 would be Vicario, Romero, Big Mick, Destiny, Royal, Basuma, Lo Celso, Maddison. Brilliant attacking trio, duo that midfield. And Son, Kane, Kulu.
Yeah, I'd take that as a great starting lineup. I'd love to see the Celso in it. I hope he has a great game tomorrow night. Same for you, Gibbo. Much change on that, or do you agree?
I think Basuma will come in for either Sarr or Højbjerg. I'm not sure which one, but I think that will be the only. I think apart from that, it will be the same starting 11 that started yesterday.
Yeah,
for me.
Good, excellent. Okay, well we'll call it a day there. Thanks, Isaiah, for your amazing insight and your tactical analysis or your player analysis for us. We'll have more of that, please, in the coming weeks as we get into this transfer window, if we may.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's a good time. And yeah, I like putting together those stat things, so I'll be happy to do that going forward.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome on this show anytime, mate. Anytime.
Yeah.
James, thanks as well. Thanks for coming on, as always. Nice drink in hand, as always.
Pleasure to be on. You can't have 4 sober blokes in a room. That's a bit weird. So I like to, add a bit of diversity. But, lovely to be on. As I, mate, you did beautifully. Gibbo and Craig did brilliantly as ever. Lovely to be on. Lovely to talk about Spurs in a positive mood for once and not just complain like the last.
Mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing for me. And Gibbo, I know you'll be big on this. It's I was obviously at the stadium yesterday, and to have 50, 55, 56 odd thousand people there for a pre-season stadium tells you the positivity that's back around Spurs at the moment in time. And it's not positivity in terms of we're going to go and smash the league. It's a positivity in that we're playing football in the right way. There's going to be fun to watch football this season, isn't it, Gibbo?
Look, mate, football and Spurs is a release for most of us, isn't it? We work, do our job. When Spurs are on, win, lose or draw, we support them, but we want to watch it. And more than anything, we want to enjoy it. And we haven't had a fat lot of that to do for the past 5 years. And at the minute, it looks like we're going to go back to trying to play a bit of football. So, it is positive. Even if we finish the same place in the league, but we're better to watch. It's a bonus, isn't it? We all want more than that, but it's like there was times last year where I'd be watching. Spurs were coming on, and I'd be about to watch them, but I'd be like, I don't want to watch this. And when it's finished, I'm like, why did I watch that? Why did I put myself through that? Where we're all sort of like looking forward to it now. We're all sort of like, this is more what Spurs are about. And we got a guy we haven't got a manager who talks in riddles, and it should be positive. And if we agree or disagree on stuff like we do on here, we've had a chat tonight, but we can agree, we can disagree, we can agree to disagree, but it's all civil and we're all having a laugh. But when it all finishes, mate, we're all happy. We all want the same thing. And it just feels like we're going back to that a little bit more, doesn't it?
We all feel unified.
It's not head in hand stuff like this is awful. This is just like it's actually like I'm looking forward to watching Spurs next season. I don't care as long as we're trying to do the right things, and you can see the direction we're going. Brilliant. So yeah, mate, I've enjoyed tonight. And good to be on with Isaiah. Not been on for a while, and have James on here. But yeah, it's good. We're getting good interaction on the show. Good people in the comments. We're going to try and push on this year with the show and try and bring some different content and better content. So thanks everybody who's tuned in, and please keep watching. Please keep hitting that like button. Please keep getting people subscribing. Good job hosting, Craig, as always.
I know. You guys make it easy. All right, guys, we'll have a great week. Wednesday is the prediction show. Great thing lined up for that. Got some good predictions. It's HG hosting, I believe, with myself and Gibbo contributing. So That should be a good show as well. So make sure you pop in for that one. But other than that, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you
Come on,
Spurs.
Spurs.